Hello there, welcome to another YouTube video with Ungainly Titan, and in this one I want to take an early look at Gloomhaven Early Access on the PC. That is the PC version of the Gloomhaven board game. There's a port, it's available on Steam, and I've been looking at it off and on over recent times. I've had probably 5 or 6 hours gameplay really. I haven't finished it, there's a lot in it. I think there's I don't know how much, but there seems to be an awful lot of gameplay. I certainly don't seem to have made much more than a dent, or even a dent in the content that's already there. Now, I've never had the opportunity to play the board game as much as I might have liked to. I didn't invest in it because I'm kind of in a board game desert where I am, and I get regular opportunities to play board games. So it just seemed a bit on the expensive side for something that I might only get to play once. And it's a game that I think rewards multiple playthroughs from what I can hear about it. So as far as I know, it's not an exact port. There are compromises and changes made due to the fact that it's a computer game. And I'm not 100% sure, like, in the story elements and stuff like that, whether there's any differences or not. So because I don't know again about the board game side of it. But the story element in the game as it stands, and the content as it stands, is really, really sparse in the sense that you've got a kind of a boss. You're mercenaries on a location in a fantasy environment, and you've got a kind of an ultimate boss that you've got to take on. But meanwhile, you can go wander around. There's certain paths you can take. And those paths will allow you to go to locations where you basically have encounters, and you have to complete the encounter to succeed. And then you get back into the campaign mode and you just go on to the next location. And if you fail, as far as I can tell, you don't go back into the location you were in again. Yeah, from reviewing the video, it looks like you actually go back to the last waypoint. So when you look at the map, the world map, you have certain locations and then when you pick a path, you get intermediate locations, and you go to the intermediate locations, you do the adventure, but if you fail, it looks like, now I haven't played this more than once, so it looks like you go back to the original waypoint again. So what exactly is the game like? Well, you start out, you have a selection of parties, preset parties that you can pick. And they're ranked for difficulty, so one particular party is easier than the others. And I would really recommend starting off with the easiest modes and doing the things the easiest possible way, because I find that even at the easiest mode, it's a very difficult game to play, and it is actually very difficult to complete the encounters. There is a reasonably thorough manual, but it's also complicated enough that you probably won't get it in one sitting. I certainly didn't. And I didn't figure out the game completely on my own, in the sense that I had the opportunity to talk about it with a friend who has played the board game version. And over the course of that discussion, I realised several of the mistakes that I was making and several of the things that I wasn't grasping about the original rules. I would say that if it was a board game, I would almost certainly get it wrong the first time round. And I would also say that even the printed rules as they stand could use a turn summary. An additional piece that you often get in board game rules, probably are in the original board game rules, where you have an example turn, so that, you know, Fred, Jane and Alice are playing the game and this is how they do it, sort of thing. I have actually done a previous video last week just covering the basics, as I understand it, of the actual combat rules, just to boil it down so that a person could understand it. And I think that I have a reasonable grasp of that side of things. However, there was an awful lot of stuff that I just didn't get, and stuff that I've only started to get now, looking back into it. So there's no tutorial as it currently exists, and the rules are inaccessible when you're in play mode, which I think is a major oversight. It's definitely, I'm trying to put together also feedback that I'm going to put up on the Steam forum. But I'm probably going to read it a little bit more as well. I haven't really read into the Steam forum, so I don't know what issues other people are having with the game. I'm just doing my own stuff first, and then I'll probably look a little bit more deeper on the Steam forums and see what other issues, and then tailor my feedback apart with that in mind, because there's no point in repeating stuff that people have repeated 1,000 times already. That said, the basic game is that it's a tactical combat game. You're basically dungeon crawling. So you pick a path, you go to a place. You generally get some story elements along the line that don't seem to matter a whole lot. Then you arrive at a location where there is stuff to kill. There may be more exploration that I'm not actually getting or that I'm missing. And however, it's turn-based, so you start off, each character is a class of their own, and they have a number of cards, and anything from about 8 to 11, depending on which group, which party, and which way of them combined. The more cards you have, obviously the easier it is to play, so every turn you pick 2 cards. The cards have 2 actions, a kind of an attack action and a defense action, and there's also default actions, and they have a number that governs their initiative order. The bad guys generally get a card, and that also governs their initiative order, and off you go. You take your turn. Once the initiative order is sorted out, your turn, you use both cards. So if you take the default actions on the cards, then the cards will recycle on rests. If you take the major action on the card, then the card doesn't recycle for the rest of that scenario. It's burned, as it's referred to, and you don't see it again. If you only take major actions, you will run out of cards. If you run out of cards, you fail the adventure and you go home. You get exhausted and you return back to your starting point, or at least not in the adventure. If everybody in the party fails the adventure, you basically don't get to do it. I'm not sure when you get back to do the location, but the thing is, it won't be the same thing again anyway, and anything you picked up in terms of loot is gone. You don't get it. So if your character has 10 cards, you'll get 5 turns. At the end of that, when you have no cards left to pick, you then get the option to do a short or a long rest. A long rest, you forego a turn, basically. You get a heal, you come with the last of the turn. The enemy get to act against you if there's enemies there, and you choose a card to eliminate, to burn, to recover all the remaining cards. If you take short rest, a random card is chosen to be burned, and you can accept that, or you can basically take a hit, 1 hit point loss, and have pick another card. You have to take the second pick. If you run out of cards, you fail the adventure. So there's a kind of balance between how many times you use the major action of the cards versus how many times do you take rests, for recycling your hand basically to complete the adventure, and it's quite challenging. And if you don't use the major actions or don't use them efficiently, you can run out of cards. If you don't use them at all, you can run out of cards. You probably will run out of cards, in fact. So you have to balance the amount of times you use the default actions versus the major effect of the cards. From what I can tell, a combat lasts about half an hour, 30 minutes to 40 minutes. Success or fail, and it's pretty engrossing while you're playing it. And I actually could see myself playing the game that way. Play it for an hour. If you have an hour to kill, it's a good dip into a kind of game. The story isn't anything. I mean, it's not a game you play to follow the plot. It's just, I think you play it for the tactical combat. And I think it might be most satisfying when the multiplayer is enabled. that this might be an ideal game to get a bunch of your mates online, chatting about and playing a party together. It is, in my opinion, definitely on the difficult side. This is a tough game to play. And it's not terribly obvious the first couple of times you go at it that what you're doing and whether you're doing it right. Now, there's 2 levels of difficulty. One is there's quite a bit just in the basic playing. And I think the UI is a little bit clumsy as well. There is you target the hexes, both for movement and targeting, and for healing, not the creatures. Took me a while to realise it's the hexes I'm targeting. And it's kind of wonky, because sometimes you have multiple targets, but say you have 2 characters adjacent and you pick target one, it won't target the other one, and then you have to kind of clear the target and then target the other one, and then it'll target both. But it won't do it if you do it the other way. And I don't know why it does that. That's a bit on the clunky side. There's, as I said, there's no way of reaching the rules inside the gameplay, which is a bit of a bummer. And it would, I think, make life a lot easier for players starting out to be able to read the rules, because it's not obvious how to use equipment, how to use potions and things like that. But it turns out, because they go active, you have basically a couple of phases when you're playing a turn. You select the cards for each of your critters, and it doesn't automatically roll over. So you have one creature 1, you select 2 cards for it, and then you click the menu thing to select the other creature, and you then select that. Because if you have 2 cards selected, for instance, and you click a 3rd card, then it deselects the other 2 cards, and you got to go again. There's something odd that happens with one particular card, and it comes up with an option that it'll be discarded or something like that if you select it, and I have no idea what that's about or why it happens. I'm sure if I read the rules again, I might be able to figure it out, but it shouldn't be that much work. The menus should be clearer and explain things a little bit better. So after 5 or 6 hours of playing it, I'm still learning how to play the game. And that's learning how to actually just do the basic controls and what the various different things mean and things like that, not actually learning how to play the game as in the optimal way to use my cards, or when do I use the cards, when do I do stuff up. I haven't even actually, I have leveled up a character, but I haven't played with a leveled up character. And just yet. So yeah, there's quite a lot involved in this game, and it has a fair bit of a learning curve. Now, this may improve because this is early access, and with feedback and stuff like that, the should we say, the learning experience and stuff might, or I would hope, would get smoother and more user friendly, shall we say, as the game develops. It does look good, and I have not noticed any bugs. Now, that's not to say that I haven't encountered bugs, because sometimes I have noticed sort of odd behaviour in the sense that, but I don't know whether that odd behaviour is caused because I've encountered a minor bug, or because, I'd say, in the UI or something, or because I just didn't know what I was doing and couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do next. But that's so far, but it's never crashed. Nothing really outrageously weird has happened, and so far as I can tell, everything seems to be working as it's supposed to. So the downsides of this game, I think, are it's tough, it's a difficult game. There's no compelling storyline. You're playing this for the tactical combat, and which is quite engrossing as you're playing it. But if you go away from the game, there's no particular reason to play it again. And it's not a game I could imagine playing for hours and hours. It's not like, say, Civ or XCOM or whatever, where you're playing the game, and as you're playing there's enough developments going on that you want to keep pressing the button, you want to keep doing the turns, you want to get to the next bit. This is a game I could just see myself dipping in and out of it, and I think it might be at its best when they actually put the multiplayer mode online. Now, this could change, because I don't really know what the development plan is. I don't know if there's going to be a more involved or compelling storyline element, and it's just that they had the combat stuff polished and reasonably well, and they have basically the skeleton of a campaign system and setting put on top of it, and that there'll be a lot more iteration and development in the campaign and story side to it in the future. Time will tell, and just have to wait and see developments. So, in summary, what do I think? It's very polished, it looks nice, it's very difficult and compelling tactical combat, turn-based. Story, feel about it. And I would be inclined to wait until they have more work done, and it is further closer to the final product before I would go after it. But, I already have, so I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll certainly report back on it again. And I actually look forward to the multiplayer aspect of it. I think that could be really interesting, and just need to persuade somebody to get it as well, so that I could join in with them. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. If you did, give it a like and share. Feel free to comment. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.